Bracket racing isn't just what we do, it's who we are. It's how we identify ourselves.
What does bracket racing mean to me? It's my life. It's where my people are. My idols, my family, my friends.
Bracket racing is life. Bracket life. Hello and welcome back to the Bracket Life broadcast. We'll get the club music off there. As we started out, Canada's drag racing show. Andrew, how are we doing tonight, bud?
Not bad, recovering. That was a long weekend, to be honest with you.
It was.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. We had a mix of everything, right? You got the full kind of Luskville experience, you know. We had some real hot weather. We had some real wet weather. We had some hail, you know.
That was a pretty wild storm. So, like, to backtrack a little bit, we had, as Brandon said, a little bit of everything. And there was a storm Saturday night that rolled through, and much of Ontario, if you were in Ontario, got wet at some point over the 3-day stretch of Canada Day weekend. But boy, did we! Well, Grand Bend saw some water, but that was a torrential downpour. Right? We had a lake outside there for a little bit, but yeah, it was pretty wild watching it come over the mountains and have that effect. I'm used to seeing stuff come out from lakes, right? That's usually where we're fighting battles from, but that's was an interesting one, nonetheless.
That's how it goes.
Yep.
Right. But yeah, it was exciting. Quite the time. You know,
I think I need another long weekend to recover from the long weekend is where it's at, right? Like I'm kind of glad the next 2 weeks I'm actually off racing to get some, I don't know, R&R is not the right word because I'm still busy. There's still too much to do, but just fix some stuff, right? Which is a good hint at everything else we'll talk about later on here.
Exactly. We'll get more into the Luskville details after.
Yep.
If you're tuning in live, we see everybody going bracket racing in the chat. Mike Doe, always Mobile RV Center Race Team, always in the chat there. And everybody else hanging out, make sure you comment, let us know you're watching, where you're watching from. And, you know, if you're watching the show on YouTube or wherever it is, you know, hit the, subscribe, like, everything, follow the page, follow the channel, whatever you got to do, all that stuff. Whatever it is, you hit the button. Check it out. It helps the show out a lot. Gets it spread out to other people, connects us with people around your area that are interested in your things. Spread the Bracket Life broadcast around and go from there. As you can see from Andrew's hat, my hat, my Pro One hat is somewhere here, I think, in the move.
So say you've had a very busy week and a half, 2 weeks there of getting some stuff. So I think there's a fair assumption that the missing hat somewhere in the confines of the house.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's somewhere here for sure. Just couldn't find it. But Andrew's got it. Andrew's got the Pro One. So as leading into that, right? Tonight's show is presented by Pro1Safety.ca, Pro One Safety Canada, obviously. They offer racing safety equipment, including seatbelts, harnesses, fire suits. Be sure to shop Canadian, get your safety gear before the season ends. The notes say season starts. I'm going to say before it ends. If you're going anywhere big, need something new, right? A lot of different things, gloves I know will wear out throughout the year, things like that. Like that's something you and I both talked about on here a lot before, right? Mid-season, grabbing some new gloves. They're always around. Jerome Bellew in Quebec, mainly like the Super Tour stuff. He's always got stuff on hand. Jonathan DeVries for Southern Ontario area. Jason McNeil, we saw him in the comments over there for the Maritimes area. Travis Ringgold out west. Check in with any of those guys. All the dealers, they've got lots of stuff loaded up there. And if they don't have it, they can always get it for you. Whatever you need, or if you're just preparing for next year, right?
Absolutely.
All your winter maintenance, get ready on that, right? Because it's unfortunately coming eventually.
Well, we're coming up on the 400-foot mark of our season, I think, right, on a quarter-mile season. So it's getting there. So. It's July. I can't believe it's July, but
there it is.
Right?
Neither can I. It happens. We will dive into the Canadian countdown here first. Canada Day weekend. Obviously, Canada. That was Saturday, July 1st.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes,
so
I thought so. And then happy
de facto July 3rd.
Yeah, And then happy Independence Day to everybody if you are watching from the States. But,
Yes.
for
All
everybody paying attention.
1776 friends, right?
Yes, exactly. So celebrating Canadians is the theme we're going to go with. We always, kind of pay attention to all that stuff. Chris Manzo rolled down a Mid-Michigan Motorplex, and for the second time this year, parked it in the winner's circle. So great racer from Northern Ontario. I believe he's from Sault Ste. Marie. So much closer to go to Michigan and Northern Michigan area than to head, Southern Ontario or out to Quebec where we were last weekend. So, but good for Chris. He always ran the North races with us. Elliott Lake, Wawa, Chapleau, he was there. Did very well, for the limited racing they could always do. But yeah, Chris going down and tearing it up.
Good job. He's got that championship last name too, right? Manzo.
He does.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No, he's got to be all right.
Yeah, that comes with a little bit of weight to it. And he's certainly living up to that, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So hit us with some Southern Ontario knowledge there, Andrew.
There you go. So we'll go up to Grand Bend. I got some results from out there. So limited weekend out there. They got hit hard with rain. I don't know if you saw some of the pictures, but like I've never seen that facility so underwater. That was a Sunday rainstorm that came through. So they got Saturday in. Luke Schwimmler, former IHRA junior world champion, picking up the win in top ET. From the cool story category, Jesse Searson. So Jesse's killed a motor a couple years back there, spent 2 years off working at the track, and working hard, doing a great job. Pulled the money together, got the motor back together. I was talking to him the week going into the race. He called me up and we're shooting the shit on a few things. And sure enough, he gets it running, gets it into the winner's circle, like day one, right? Saturday, picks up the win in Extreme 32. Went rounds in top ET as well. Like, just great to see, because it's such a hard luck story. He's had engine issues, and dumb things, right? Like parts failures, like not build issues, right? So I think a lot of people can appreciate that. And again, touches on the subject we're going to have later on. But it was great to see him pick up the win. Kimberly Arquette, huge weekend. So last year's Street ET winner. She's been racing some of the other classes at Grand Bend, like Open Comp and Mod, and she picked up the Open Comp win over Rob Alexander on Saturday. Then also took an entry in Mod ET to the final round. Unfortunately, came up just short to Joe Piper. I'm not sure if Joe's listening tonight, but he's one of the longtime listener, first-time caller followers for the show. Great to see him pick up a win. Long. I think it's been a little while since he's been in the winner's circle, but he goes rounds. Like, he's one of those guys that you can count on seeing in late rounds with his rides. So awesome to see that for Joe. We'll move down the road to Toronto Motorsports Park. They had the Nitro Nationals. Now, I don't have a lot of results there because it was, again, kind of a show weekend. There was some bracket racing that went on, but Can-Am Stock Super Stock was one of the featured classes there. They had 30 entries battling in front of the full crowd. And if you saw the pictures, it was a busy weekend down there. They had both the Peyton top fuel cars running, Nostalgia, Nitro funny cars.
Paul Noakes had that. Yeah, Paul Noakes was driving that. What was it? Is it a fuel altered or something like that?
I believe that was, I think it's Gary Krause's car out of Buffalo, which is a fuel altered. And I think he was wheeling it against the Drastic Plastic car, which is a pretty famous Fiat bodied altered out of, I think, Midwest, I guess would be the easiest way to put that without making a fool of myself without being accurate. But a great show, like big crowd. So in Super Stock, Classic final actually was kind of fun. Stock versus Super Stock in the final round. Tony Valerio, stick shifted Camaro, taking on Chuck Nagy's modified motor Super Stocker. Chuck coming up with the W in the final round over Tony. But great contingent of cars. Shout out to Bob Parks. Bob's been on a bit of a roll, coming out of the 660s with a couple wins, and went some rounds at this race. I believe we talked about it. Bob's all of 79 years old or thereabouts. I see Yvonne Potter's in the comments talking about the fuel cars, which I appreciate. So 475, 399, which, yeah, the track was hooking. There was some video of the fuel cars, and I think the Drastic Plastic car went like 548, 270, 280, like some good runs. And Noakes was out on him too, like ahead of him on the race. So look, I think he got some trouble later on. But she did. Yvonne also did throw out a comment asking if we were coming to Lancaster Friday. Yep.
We did get that. I am not. For those of you who might not know, Ogilvy's Auto and Fleet now, the newest sponsor or partner with Peyton Racing. So now that I did move, you'd think I get to go do all the cool stuff with Mike, but apparently I am staying home at work. That's fine. Mike and Vic are gonna roll down to Lancaster with the team and check out Friday night. Do some fuel car action. So
awesome. That's gonna be fun. That is that's a fun place to watch fuel racing at, because it is a tight track. If you're
I've only seen pictures of it, but it looks really wicked.
Burnout box, because it's a stock car track using a back straightaway as the drag strip, and it's an okay little track, right? Like it's tight, like it's 660 to get up to speed and like 640 to get down to speed, right? You don't get a lot of shutdown there. So I know Laganas have gone there and set some records. Litton's run there, Peyton's have run there, like runs like much quicker numbers than I would have. The what's to run down there, but like Burnout Box is right beside the grandstands. You can almost reach out through the chain link fence to it. It's just a wild little place. So if you're in the front row, header flames are definitely not going to be in your favor, but that'll be fun. It'll be great to see them down there running that. We'll go back for half a second. Joe Piper jumped in. It was his first mod win ever. Congrats. I feel bad. I hate missing stuff like that, but that's a big one for Joe. I always see him in the late rounds, so I made a little bit of an assumption that would not have been his first win, but congrats, Joe. So we'll keep rolling a little bit with the Nitro Nationals. The only thing I got with that one is they ran an Outlaw Quick 16 class. I just wanted to put a kind of a notice out on this one. Had a good conversation with Kenny Grassi tonight. So they're doing something neat there where they're going to run a top sportsman, top dragster combo. It's a power adder class. So they're looking to run essentially a bracket quick 16 power adders only. They're doing it at a couple big events. So they did it at this event. They're going to do it in Labor Day. So kind of neat to see some stuff developing. It's wide open. You want to take your injected nitro funny car and put a delay box in it and go top dragster racing, have at it,
or don't put a delay box in it and still go top dragster racing.
Well, right? Hey, whatever, right? Bottom bulb is fine, but so that was kind of neat. Glad to hear that. That should be fun to see. I think Labor Day is when they're going to run their next Outlaw Quick 16. So it was neat to see that. We're going to head west from here, way out west, all the way out west.
Yeah, west.
West. Do you want to take this one, or do you want me to roll through?
You got it. You got it.
We'll roll with this. So Door Wars, big event at Mission. I've been hearing about this event for years. We talked about it last year. Our first summer really doing the show.
Yeah.
Gigantic race and huge because they've got a hometown guy that's bringing some big names up there. So Justin Bond, the Bahrain One Pro Mod race team, Khalid Al-Balushi, bringing out there like two of the top NHRA pro mods on the planet, made their way out west to run with the West Coast Pro Modifieds. Bond brought up his 68 Camaro with the screw blown Hemi. So like not playing around, just bringing the big guns in the outlaw side of things, I guess, right? From the World Series of Pro Mod to the race, 16 Pro Mods, super tight competition. JR Lasik in the final goes 005 against Bond, who's 39. And just couldn't run with Bond going 375, 202. Bond's best run of the weekend was 368.4 at 205. Some real stellar numbers, right? Like that's
ridiculous, right?
Isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
They reset. So this is kind of neat too. And they reset both ends of the track record with that until JR Lasik pulled off a 379 at 208.82. So some stellar competition in the Pro Mod division out there. Congrats to Justin on the big win in his hometown. Canada West Door Slammers. We talked a bit about them, I think last episode. Pro Tree, top sportsman style class, 870 and faster to get in. So 42 of them made the trek down the quarter mile, I guess. They're running quarter, 870. I had to think about that. So used to 8-mile racing now, right?
Yeah.
John DeJong making the cut with his car and his blown 598 Camaro. Number one qualifier and takes home the win, takes it front to back. They had 15 Outlaw 275s make it out for the weekend. One of the fastest growing classes in the West Coast, and certainly a class that's really popular on the East, right? You see a lot of 275 cars running around, particularly south, right? Jordan Brandon from Sherwood Park, Alberta, took the win, second year in a row. There's a bit of a theme to this one because there's a couple people came back out to the Door Wars and was able to repeat. This time he was over Jason Angle Plug Gagnon. Almost messed that up.
Yeah.
Close matchup. Brandon was 41, Gagnon was 42, so identical. And then 442 takes the win over 447. Limited Street, Vanessa Richards in the winner's circle again, second year in a row, running 5:19s to take home the W. Real Street, kind of a neat one, father and son matchup. So Rob Monroe Sr. versus Rob Monroe Jr. And the Real Street, I believe, is one of the drag and drive style classes. So it's a drag and drive race, and then it's a bracket race from there on out. So kind of a unique little setup, right? So seniors Model A, cutting a 50, trying to chase down junior. Junior's 18. Runs the dial in with a 6. Unfortunately, senior has to break it out to try to get there first. Just an awesome time seeing father and son raced in the final, right? Top Fuel Harleys were there. Nate Gagnon taking the number 1 spot with a 6:54, which is like, I'm always impressed by Nitro Harleys, right? Like,
they're unreal. We were watching them on YouTube the other night, just sitting around here, and like, ridiculous.
Oh yeah, just to strap yourself to the bomb that is a Top Fuel or Nitro bike like that. Unreal. So that was great to see. We've got bracket results. So Saturday, non-electronics, John Tabek over Chris Stone. Double red light final with John taking the W. Saturday electronics, Kevin McNichol with a win over George LeBlanc, who's also doubling up in stock super stock. A little bit of a different double. Kind of a great result there. Good for George. Sunday, Nani, Jeff Bell over Richard Love. Sunday's electronics, George LeBlanc. So presumably going off the bottom. I mean, if you're running stock super stock, that's got to be how that's going to work, right? Taking the box in and out, but that doesn't seem like a great option. So just go off the bottom. Anyway, George with the win, double breakout win against Dustin Hunter. Longtime racer David Rasted took the win in stock super stock. Now the fun part, junior. So Junior Lightning saw Abby White with the win over McKenna Thompson. Junior Thunder with Adam Katinick.
I think Adam Katinick rolls off the tongue all right.
Yeah, I feel bad. I don't think I got that one right. But Saturday and Sunday win. So picks up the double. Junior Lightning on Sunday saw a win from, and this is kind of neat, Khalid Al-Belushi's son, Saeed, doesn't have a junior in the West Coast. So Justin Bond buys a junior to put Khalid's son into, and he proceeds to at least start the payment program on it by parking it in the winner's circle on Sunday. So that was really cool and great to see. Tyler Smith. We've talked about Tyler. I think he's a weekly feature now on the show. He's
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, like it's become a Tyler Smith watch, right? For the out west. 7 in a row in Junior Street now. The bounty, from what I understand, is at epic proportions to the point now where they're buying dinner for the kid and the family for beating track records just for the amount of straight wins. So great for them. That's really cool. Like to see that type of dominance, right? And then Jessica Armstrong. So Jessica is the contact that we use for Mission. She is the promotions and marketing director at Mission. Special weekend for her. Nice shutout here. So her son, Owen, 5, under the, careful, watchful eye of everyone at the racetrack. First race out with the junior and gets a round win at the Door Wars event. So picking up wins 20 years ahead of me, right? Good for him. Good for him. I think it took me 20 plus years to figure out round wins. So that is a special moment for them. That's really cool. And at 5, I don't know what I was doing at 5, but wheeling juniors for W's was nowhere near even close to the radar. Let's head east a little bit, and you can pick it up here. Rad Torque Raceway.
Yeah. Only like east from BC. So
right?
Don't get too excited, right? We're not east yet. We're still west. As we switch from BC to Alberta for the Oil City Classic here, I talked a little bit, before I get too heavy into this. Talked a little bit with Andrew before, and we'll see what everybody thinks, and we'll ruffle some feathers. But I'm like, Western Canada, in the 2-3 years I've been doing this for, I think they are pretty close to being like the premier area for drag racing in Canada right now. Like, they got some wicked stuff going on out there. So it's really cool to learn about, really cool to be able to pay attention to. So this stuff's always a lot of fun doing it. Like I said, back on track, Oil City Classic, Rad Torque Raceway. Travis Ringeth, had him on the show a bunch of times here. Now, good friend, talks to Travis all the time. So
We haven't had him on in a
the
little while
event.
either. We should probably
It's been a
rattle
little
off
bit.
Paige, right?
Yes, we should. Friday there, they rolled out for the warm up. It was 5K to win. So they got kicked off early, done on time, done at 7 p.m. Not that it matters there because the sun doesn't go down until midnight. So who cares what time you do finish? But at 8 cars, and it's a cool story, right? When you go through the whole deal. But neat story I was following all over the weekend. Craig Johnson didn't have his wagon, wasn't ready, so then had a Oldsmobile Cutlass there that he was driving, as well as Jason Mercer, his buddy, had loaned him a Roadster. I know that Craig's ran the Roadster a few times, but so Craig gets down, 8 cars left, he still doubled. As well, at the exact same time, sorry, find it. I had all scrambled with all of it. Braden Helena, who hasn't raced in 2 years in his dragster, also doubled at 8 cars. So we had 8 cars left. 2 guys are still in twice. Neither one of those guys gets to the final.
Crazy.
Crazy. So
that's holding a lot of hands at the table at once, right? To not have any of them go through.
Yeah, exactly. The eventual final ends up being Braden Hero off the bottom versus Ryan O'Connor, ROC. And then it was a tight one. Saskatchewan versus Alberta in the final. ROC drops a dead one for the win, which also kickstarts a great weekend for both of those guys.
Yep.
They started the second chance race this event also. Cody Graves takes down Chance Edelman in a dragster versus door car final there. So shootout Saturday, right? This is the big one. They do the main event throughout the day, 10K. And then they had the 20K shootout race for box and 7,500 to win for no box. First one was Kelsey Dunsfree. Takes the win over Mark Bold. The last 2 standing no box cars, Braden Hero and Chance Edelman. Both those guys, right? On Saturday, we've already talked about their names. Yep. Frank Ward takes the second chance race win over Mike Nichols. All door cars there. And then we roll through shootouts. Tyler Zeller puts it in the winner's circle as takes out Braden Hero. So now this is keeping track, right? This is the 3rd time we've talked about Braden so far. So congratulations to Tyler, but absolutely. Braden's been laying it down here. Final round of the night, 20K win goes to ROC, Ryan O'Connor, as he, cruising through. Guys had a killer year to this point so far. Takes it over Dave Senio. Dave, a great friend of Ryan's, I believe, a mentor, I guess, almost. Not to put words in his mouth. Maybe Ryan doesn't look at him like that, but that's how it kind of seemed when I was out there, right? Dave's a cool dude to hang out with.
That's the interpretation you're going to go with, right?
It sounds good, right? It's for the story.
Mm-hmm.
But so ROC gets it done for that. So he's won a 5 and a 20 to this point. Final day, Sunday, roll through. Braden Hero takes the last standing no box spot and then rolls into the final. Yeah, was joined by the final. Monty Beagle. No, sorry, I'm getting all confused. Braden Hero was down to the final of no box. Monty Beagle takes the win.
Yep.
The main event win after going through the no box side, after he takes out Lincoln Rutherford. Now, Lincoln also, I don't know who's all been paying attention to this or if anybody really has the Rutherfords on Facebook or any social media stuff. But if you pay attention to anything, like especially James has been posting, he's Lincoln's father. Lincoln rebuilt an older car that they had. They call it Buckshire.
Yep.
It's a Ford something. The Rutherfords are all obsessed. Yeah. The Rutherfords are obsessed with Fords for some unknown reason, right? But so Lincoln rebuilt this whole thing himself with his grandfather's help and his father's help, right? Did this, had it out for a weekend prior, and then went through and did a great job driving this whole time.
Yep.
And then rolls down. So did very well in the door car final. Lost to Monty, obviously. And then carried through. So good for them. Second chance race. Lawrence Derrick takes out Jason Mercer. Jason, we talked about earlier, loaning a ride to a friend. And then he rolled in halfway through the weekend and was able to roll down to the second chance final. So good for them. The highlight, I guess, that I really want to focus on, I know that was a lot to kind of take in for it. MVP award goes to ROC, Ryan O'Connor. Strong finishes all 3 days, taking home 2 big checks in 4 events, right?
Yeah.
Great weekend for him. This had to be a very tough decision. They also had an FTI performance bonus.
Yep.
For the driver who staged the most rounds.
Yep.
That went to Braden Hero, who staged his car 29 elimination rounds. That excludes buybacks and shootouts.
It's crazy.
That's not a time trial.
No.
That's not a shootout. That's not a buyback round.
Main event rounds.
Main event rounds, 29 that he staged for. Like, that's a massive weekend.
Over 3 days. Like, this isn't a week at the million where it's 7 days of racing, right? Like, or something crazy. Yeah. It's a short period, but unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah. So, and rolled through from Saskatchewan. I'm not sure how far that is. It sounds far, but just because Saskatchewan sounds far from everything. But
yeah, well, the West is one of those funny spots that, like, until you get out there, and I haven't been really. I've been to Winnipeg. You don't appreciate distance at all if you're from the East, because 7 hours seems like a long drive, and 7 hours out there might be a home race, right? So
it could be, right?
Yeah, it's long compared to what we're used to for anyone out this way. So
yeah, but no, good for those guys, right? That was really cool. I was talking to Trav throughout the weekend, sending messages, asking how everybody was going, and like I said, ROC was killing it, and then Braden Road. So whoever had to make that choice, or however they narrowed that down, very tough call for the MVP of the weekend. Absolutely. But good for those guys, right? That was really cool deal. Wish I was there. Like, we'll get back there at some point, I'm sure, to hang out with everybody, but good for all the winners there. I know it was a lot to take in for it. Andrew, you and I, as we spoke about at the start of the show, we rolled to Luskville for Canada Day, hung out there, had a fun time, right?
Absolutely. I always enjoy the Super Tour has become a real fun series to follow along, right? Always enjoy going to Luskville. Really, it's become a little bit of a favorite track, right? Like, it looks well. And with the safety, like the new walls they've got in there. I mean, they've done a good job over the years. You can see the new asphalt, you can see the new walls, you see all the work they're doing on it. I mean, it's always immaculate, right? So truly enjoy going there, enjoying the Super Tour. But we rolled in there with a lot of question marks, right? Like, a lot of fronts. But I was joined by quite a few of my Western buddies too, right? Jamie Tupper, Laura Shepard. We had Dave Gunn roll in. I'm missing someone else here too.
Your boy, terrible Teddy Barnes.
Well, Ted, yeah, my buddy, my traveling partner there. He's rolled in with us, so it was good. The warm-up race, which I'll be honest with you, with the way the forecast was and looking, I wasn't sure how much we'd get in. They did a great job getting this race rolling, but Jamie Tupper getting things figured out in the dragster, taking the Friday warm-up win over Dave Rene in Dorkar. Had a chance to run Dave quite a bit this weekend. Did not have a lot of luck. So, series defending champion, proving, why he is that, right? Exactly. Saturday, another one of those days, woke up and I swear to goodness, I was going to look out the window and see nothing but rain. It was so dark out, but we raced, got rolling at 8. I think there was an audible call at about 5:15 that morning, 8 a.m. semi-pro. Let's roll. Saw the weather, raced till about 2:30. Didn't get the race done. Finished this on Sunday morning. But Super Pro Dorkar final, Laura Shepard over some guy named Andrew Stirk.
Yeah, I know that guy.
He's all right. He's all right. Laura's much better. So she did well Sunday morning. Dragster side, Ashley Ogilvie put on a great run, getting to the final. Took out Adam Bizantis, the Destroyer. Interesting side note, Adam has been recently the guy taking out those like first day wins. Friday of the 660s, Thursday of Bonanza last year. There was another race somewhere, and he took a little bit of a different approach. Talking about it, I says, you're the guy I'm putting money on day one from here on out. And he goes, the problem with that is like day one's usually not the big payday, and 2, lightning rarely strikes twice. So he didn't do as well Friday and rolled some results into Saturday. So he's working on a new theory. I'm, following this story as it develops for him. Right. But great day for him. In the final, Laura taking the win over Ashley in a close one, and the first all-female final round for the Super Tour, which was a really neat thing to be part of and see. So congratulations to Laura, congratulations to Ashley. That was really something.
It was cool, and I think now like the all-female one is I'm sure it's got to be just for the Super Pro class, because I'm positive with all the females we have running junior dragster now.
That's probably
had
true.
to have had, I just thought of it as you said it, because we all talked about it, right? But the junior categories dominated by females, or
so
majority of the really cool.
We'll reword that for the Super Pro class then. So that we don't get in trouble on that one, because I'm sure you're right too. I was kind of rolling with what I'd seen from the Super Tour, but you can't be wrong. That can't be
I'm sure it's got to have happened,
ever,
right?
But anyhow.
But cool, awesome for the Super Pro class, right? Laura and Ashley, both great competitors for it, right? And proves how strong, any sport. Yeah. We've talked to this a million times, I'm sure, and other people have, for not separating men and women in our sport, right? Where many other do and have to, right? But, awesome for them to show out and, kick butt.
Absolutely.
Even if it is our butts that they are kicking.
No, I didn't. Absolutely. Well, it was great, and you know what? Fun to see Laura and Jamie and them, like a few more of the Western racers come back out this way, right? Like it was great racing. Dave Gunn, right? Like I guess maybe shout out to Dave too before I get too far into this. Like going rounds both Saturday and Sunday when we were rolling out after a very early exit on Sunday for myself. Dave's still rolling around in circles, so credit where credit's due, right? There as well. So Saturday Super Semi-Pro, before I go sideways completely here and forget where I'm at. Ashley, and I feel bad because I think I'm gonna mess this up. Oh, Ashley Mutart. Yeah. So talked to Ashley last Saturday night. Came up to me and was talking about the bacon party, which again, another highlight of the whole series, right? The Angers fun party. Great job for Ashley. I mean, it was a great final on Sunday morning. So he hadn't won when we talked Saturday night, but was shaping up to be was in the final round. Great to see him get the W. I think he's had a decent year. I believe you went rounds at one of the events at Bonfield, or maybe one up there. Kind of didn't get that far into the results, but solid start to the year for them, right?
And Ashley's been away from it a little bit. He was racing a bunch, coming down a lot, and then doing a lot of the North stuff.
Yep.
But it's been a few years off. Did some circle track stuff, and
yes, that's
cool
he mentioned
him
too,
back,
right?
And right back where he left off. Right, he was killer then, and is still killing it now.
Absolutely. No, it's great to see. And went rounds, I think Sunday too. I can't.
I believe so.
Seeing how far, but he was in the later rounds. Logan Angers picking up the Saturday win. With that, we'll just jump ahead and go. Like Logan Angers swept the weekend in junior, Saturday and Sunday. Another dominating weekend for them, and he's had a couple of those. If I'm not
absolutely,
mistaken,
he's won.
Right?
I believe Naperville.
Yeah,
Naperville.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly which weekend it was, but he's doubled up. Not the first double up this year for sure.
No, not at all. So he's definitely showing out in 2023. Semi-pro on Sunday. Mike Reynolds going a ton of rounds. I saw Mike going in circles Saturday, both in semi and super. Sunday gets it done in semi-pro. Wild ride. Like that Vega is just
leaves ridiculous.
Very well, right? And
it's good.
He does well with it in general. So great to see him with the W. Super Pro. We've got Becky Ray Gauthier after a bit of a spell, like a dry spell, I guess, right? Like that was probably the fairest way to say that one. Jumps back in. Is it a Sunfire or Cavalier? Cavalier. So jumps in the family Cavalier, going rounds Saturday, gets it into the final on Sunday over Mike Chenier in the blown dragster going 440s. I still can't fathom that's a real number that we see in bracket racing all the time. But Phil Harvey with the semifinal on the dragster side. Mike took the W over him to get into the final over Becky. But great win for Becky. Big win. They had that car just roasting on Saturday when Dale's car went down, Becky's husband. I don't know if it was a doubled. Dale was driving it and Becky was driving it. And I just kept seeing it leaving the pit every time I left the pit. And, just good for them. Dale's car's fixed on Sunday and Becky gets hers back completely. And
Becky was doubled Becky was doubled Sunday, I want to say to like it was had to be close to the round of 8 left. Becky was all
Mhm.
over it, right? And as you said, like
Oh yeah.
a dry spell, what for it, but Becky's done a lot, and it's been a little
Oh
while,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
Multiple championships at Shannonville, won the Brack Bonanza before,
Yep.
countless other event wins, big wins all over. So, wasn't into it as much. They were off a little bit for a while, but great to have her back out. And
Absolutely.
like if you noticed, obviously, right?
Yep.
The women took it in Super Pro,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
They about killed it.
Three of the main events, right? 3 out of the 4 finalists.
Yeah.
So I mean, great weekend for all the women, and like just a great weekend in general, right? Like they fought through the weather. They track did a great job with just a lot of stuff that was thrown at them. That like, how do you plan for? How do you deal with? Right? We got to finish a race the next day. Just stuff getting thrown at you Sunday. So I give credit where credit's due. Derek Malcolm, Arnie Malcolm, Troy Davis. I want to mention Kyle Jessup, but I don't know how much he does outside of wheel cars and circles, which he did okay on Sunday, I guess.
I think he just wheels cars and circles.
But Derek, I really was one of those situations where a guy needs, like the proverbial pat on the back. They had some issues they were dealing with, they were fighting with, and like he was out there any chance he needed to be out there working on it. So good for those guys, right? And
and was still was still the first one up.
Yep.
At whatever 5 in the morning.
5 a.m. scraping
the track.
Yeah. And there. Stellar track. Like,
yeah,
I'll be honest with you. Like I again, credit where credit's due. That track surface was stellar, right?
Mm-hmm.
It hooked all day long. Unreal. So yeah. So that's the Canadian countdown, a little bit extended just because again, there was a lot going on, a lot of good stories that you kind of don't want to pass up. That's
that's the hard thing with doing this, right? And like we want to talk about everything else, but like that's the point of the broadcast, right? Is to highlight all these Canadian stories that are so cool. And like you said, being able to learn about it from coast to coast. I wish we could talk more about some down east racing, but holy man, those poor fellows out there, like they've had just a terrible stroke of weather, wearing it out for them most of the year. I think I want to say they've only raced once or twice out there.
Limited events so far
for the ADRA stuff. So hopefully they get back into it. Love to hear about all the maritime racers, and hopefully they have a good end of the season or last half of the season.
Dry July and August would just be welcomed, I think, upon anything else from them, right? As anyone would hope for. But boy, like been rough. But I guess when we talk about things getting rough, it's a great segue into that conversation of just what happens when the season goes sideways, right? This was kind of a subject that was a bit of a Monday conversation of, okay, what's going on? What can we talk about with the show? Because there's a lot going on in general, but it's outside of being a results show, it's kind of tough in mid-season to come up with some good subjects. And all of a sudden, the conversation turned to what got to go home. I'm glad I'm getting the next 2 weeks off. Like I love to go racing, don't get me wrong, but we got a lot of stuff to clean up. I got a motor sitting on the floor. I got to take back to the machine shop dad's shop to go through. I got a converter sitting over on a shelf, just that's not broke, but they got a lot of runs on it, right? Stuff to service and all this, and still got a car that I got to do some fixing on. It's like, what do you do when things go wrong? We've been talking about a lot the last 2-3 weeks because you've had your issues at Dragway 42. You had a new bullet in for the 660 Sportsman Nationals. I had a new bullet in for the Luskville event. So I mean, maybe we'll start from the top. Just how did we get here? And then, to be honest with you, what were the strategies to get through this? Because I got to admit, I went into Luskville with a much different approach to how I would normally come in with a 2-car team than what I would have had, the other motors survive.
You are correct. And you laid out the look of your shop and where all the race cars are and everything that's scattered around. It's exactly the same here, man. Right? We got engines there. We got trannies there. A couple converters hanging out that we're not really sure what to do with. It's wild, right? You do whatever you can over the winter and try and get ready, but you never know what the race season's going to throw at you, right? Obviously, as you brought up, Ohio deal, had a bunch of valve spring problems and then random other issues between, converter, which, with the converter, we just took the trans out. So now it's out. It's got how many runs on it. So, let's get that fresh, deal with that. And then, other issues. So, we've both done a lot of work.
Yeah. So I guess the question on this one is, so like 660 race, right? You're rolling there, like, and you were in a different spot than I was coming to Luskville. Like you had a fresh bullet that hadn't made laps, right? So you're coming into the Friday of the 660s with a,
Yeah.
let's see how this goes, which we'll get to on my end was a little different, but not that far. So you go into that race. Where's your head at on that one, right? Like maybe this is like a mini interview is what this can turn into, but right, you've got something you're not sure about. You got a combo that is similar to what you had, but different in some aspects that may be key. What were you doing Friday that was different than what you normally would do? And then Saturday and Sunday had success, like, as the caveat and the note on the end of it, like you're in the final on Sunday. So however this approach worked, it worked, right?
Big thing for myself was, as you said, this is a engine that I ran for years and had huge success with, and a combination I did. But what I kind of, I guess, didn't put enough emphasis or thought into was how much we did change it when it was broke, right? We heard almost everything in it. So almost everything was brand new. So we made some changes, right? Made it a little bigger, made it a little more aggressive for what it is. And then when we put it back in the car with the setup that we had before, all of a sudden we're highlighting some issues in my combination and things like that. So, and that's a total different deal. But then you kind of, when you're rolling in, you think this is how it's maybe going to go, you're just going to roll it. And then, all right, we're going to drive it. And it's going to be the same as what it was, 2 weeks ago, but just maybe a little quicker. Right. Well, then it doesn't quite go as planned, obviously. And that's where the testing should come in, if there is time and availability to do that. Right. But
that's
didn't work out. So, you kind of just got to roll with it. Cause Friday I was single entered because I want to make sure everything was good, which I'm not sure if that helped or hurt my program for the rest of the weekend.
Well, it's tough because you do lose out on the runs, right? Like that's, I guess, the one thing. But at the same token, like if something's not right here,
now you're trying to rush everything through, and you can't really take the time to make sure it's good. So
exactly,
that was something we did and go through. So kind of the whole weekend was, for one, adjusting to driving the car again. Like it hits really hard now. So that's where the combination, I believe, needs to be fine-tuned a little bit.
Changed up.
But then you have to adjust that, because then you go back to a safe kind of delay box setting that works all the time. Like this is always good, right? Well, we're hitting that tire a little harder, getting out a little quicker. So all of a sudden that goes all out the window. So, you just need to be, go with the flow, listen to the race car is a big thing. That's, and even when I was having some trouble with repeatability, I guess that's a good word for it.
Yeah. That works,
so, you just change your approach and have to, drive your opponent a little harder and be a little more aggressive on that. You can't just rely on that race car to do all the work for it. And that's how we kind of roll through. But it takes a lot of luck too, when you're not unsure of what's underneath you, when your opponent has, great equipment beside. So to make those.
But it adds a bunch of variables, right? That all of a sudden now weren't necessarily there before, right? And I mean, they were underlying, but they're at the surface now, right? Like, what is this going to do, right? One of the bigger issues. So we lost a motor on the Saturday night of the 660. So right as you're getting yours figured out, mine decides it's done.
To abort.
It wants a break. Yeah, they want to abort. So unfortunately, we had lost a head gasket, torched a small pathway between two cylinders, so they share compression now. In the end of the day, block's fine, and we got a rotating we can work with and some heads that need some work. Not a big deal. But now we're like 1 week off and we're back at Luskville for a series we're trying to race for. And so it became scramble mode, because now you got a backup motor and I call it a backup motor, but it was a 496. We came from a 468. It's a bigger motor. It's got more power. It's built a little more robust from a making power standpoint, going into a car that has habitually been a bit of a headache, like in the sense of setups, right? I don't know how the rest of the world views their roadster experiences. Mine has been a trial by fire since 2007. And I haven't changed the combo much, but it's been a bit fickle, but it's been a good car. It's been a championship car. We've won, IHRA national events with it. We've won track championships with it. We've won big money races with it, but it's got to live a mind of its own. So we were fortunate that, we were able to find that we had a weekend in between. We left Sunday morning, pulled the motor out after the sportsman race, and found a track to test at, which was Grand Bend Motorplex on the Sunday afternoon between races. And all of a sudden now the strategy is we need to get this motor broken in. We need to know where we're at. We've got a suspension question mark. We've got torque converter question marks. Changed converters before we ever even left the shop, after putting in a converter and going, let's just see what this does. And then finding out, okay, that probably is a little too loose for what we're about to go into an endeavor with. Flip side is the one that's in, it's probably just a touch tight, but at least it's not blowing through it. Right. Test at Grand Bend Sunday. We made 11 laps, I think, with the car on the Sunday between like 10 and 3:30. We even packed up early because we had the track till 4, with the goal that we need to get there, make sure this car will leave. Everything's okay. Because again, never had a chance to get this on the dyno. Thanks to Superflow, we were still fighting that particular battle, trying to get a dyno up and running. So like we're dyno testing this thing at the racetrack in 3,600 feet of air, knowing, okay, is this close? And suspensionally, we're looking at it going, okay, how do you get into the car setup on it, right? Like, what are you going to do with this? Because if this motor's 80, 90 more horsepower, so it simply just went back to the logbook, found the best runs we ever made with the old motor, and went, okay, well, how did the car react to that? Let's tune off that. Well, it was a bit aggressive, right? It was Luskville last year in the fall and a mine shaft air. So turning down launch, changing suspension, with the new wheels and tires, it changed a bit on it. But testing went well, went to Luskville, and all of a sudden now I'm a guy that uses prediction software. Like I really lean on that. I feel it's the strong point of my program. Others go, you're a great racer. I'm like, no, be honest with you, I'm a great keyboard jockey. I do numbers. I love looking at numbers. I love tuning stuff to make sure numbers are repeatable. I don't have that. We've got 7-8 years of that combo now out the window with a new one. So all of a sudden now, as you said, it's a get aggressive scenario of you need to be on it. You got to drive the stripe differently. I am not one to typically hold a bunch of numbers. And some more numbers were held than normal. Now, fortunately, the car, be honest with you, it leveled out in that we were close on tune up regarding the carburetor. Special shout out to Mike Ogilvie for taking my phone calls at 10:30 at night on a Wednesday or Thursday or whatever ridiculous time I called him at. And Wayne Sipos for walking me back from the edge after testing and trying to figure that out. Both of them helped me through this, but we had a car now that we could trust, and the rounds proved it. But even at that, like the second car, I mean, it changed how we approached the Mustang. We'd had a lot of success off the bottom bulb. So all of a sudden now I'm looking at this second combo going, I haven't been great off the top in it. I've been marginal at best. The car is working flat out. Like you can put a number up and that car is moving with the air. Let's do something crazy and enter the dragster side like I normally do and just go off the bottom. Because right now I feel invincible. And to be honest with you, that probably helped me in the Corvette because I could jump into a race car, one of them, knowing I have absolute confidence in what I'm going to do here. And the second car that almost rubbed off with it.
Yeah.
Like you took that confidence over to the vet and went, I'm great in this one car. Like I feel great in this one car and it's there in the other car. Right. Whereas I think if I put the box in the Mustang, I don't have a good first few hits. I'm questioning what I'm doing. Well, now you're questioning what you're doing on the other side because there are legitimate question marks on the other side. And that was a bit of a bold move and it worked out. Like I think we got to round 4 or 5 before I ran into Byzantis and turned it 1 red and go 1 thou under, beside him, right off the bottom. But it was a totally different approach of like, you know what, if you're doing good off the bottom, let's just roll with what you're comfortable with. You got a really slow car in a fast dragster class. We're going 630s against all these 440, 50, 60, 70, 480, 90 dragsters. Good luck, 105 mile an hour. We'll see at the finish line, make a decision, right? But it changed the approach. And I think that's something that you see a lot of when you talk about people with like, they changed something. Derek DeBoer, a couple of weeks back, we talked about him on the show. Saturday night, they're putting a gear change in the truck and it's a different gear than what's in it. How do you adjust? Well, you just make sure you've got angles to move on here, right? You don't just live and die by what you were before. And that flexibility came in handy for them, put them in a winner's circle.
Exactly.
right? Maybe that's the key word, is the flexibility, right? To make an adjustment in how you approach the racing to accommodate the unknown factor of what's sitting underneath you now.
For sure. Because that's to your point, right? And you kind of mentioned it earlier, right? We've all, and Derek's a great segue as well, right? Or an example, I guess, of people making these major changes, but then still finding success, right? You kind of persevere through it, and you got to roll with the punches, right? Because when you do change these things and these major things, right? We're not just making a little adjustment or something like that, or a little piece. Like, you are changing the whole power plant, the whole heart of your race car, and just kind of hoping for the best. So when you can roll with that, to a certain degree, I think you almost, some on top of my head, like, you almost just have a weight off your shoulder, because then if I go out and I lose, you kind of, it's an excuse, but maybe the blame's not going to be on me. Like, it's not all on me. It's the new combination. You can throw the car under the bus a little bit, So then, like,
for once,
where
right?
you're like, oh, well, your buddy comes up, well, why just suck? And then, well, the car wasn't this and the car wasn't that. Got to work on that. But then when you go out and the car reacts better than what it is, and you're kind of racing with no pressure on yourself, to just do the best you can, right?
Yeah.
Then it all kind of at times can fall together the way it should, or the way that you hope it would. So
you race a little bit freer, which can be tough, because I think that's, you kind of delve into a different subject here a little bit, but when you're not stuck to the constraints of what you're most comfortable doing, now you kind of have to work outside of that comfort zone, because the change in the car makes you do that, right? Because you can't trust it. If you used to put utmost faith in it, you would, like, this is the approach. If it's going to go 5:49.1, well, we'll put a 49 on it and know that we're within a thou or two on either side. If you're not 100% sure 5:49 is going to happen, like you're thinking it could be 48 to 51 because you're not sure, well, guess what? 51's going on, and we're going to have to figure things out down track. And now you have to race like there's not a decision. And to be honest with you, it can free you up, because now you're not racing with this thought of, this is uncomfortable. This is almost, I have to do this, because what other option? Like, I don't want to dial 48 and go 51 and give myself no chance, like none whatsoever. Right. But, if the car starts to prove itself, then all of a sudden now you got the confidence of, I'm racing free, like in a free manner, and the car is doing its part. Doesn't always work like that. We've been lucky in our own personal situations that was kind of the thing, right? But there's an angle to that, but it's a bit different at that point too.
Exactly. But it's the big picture of what we're hitting on is, don't if there's a possibility, right? Some you bust some stuff. Not everybody's got a second unit, sitting back there hanging out. 100%. So that's how it goes, and whatever. But you got to make sure you stay loose on that and stay open to all that stuff. So you never know what can come at you and what opportunities are going to be there, but you definitely can't win if you're not in the race.
No, and that was certainly one of those scenarios where, like, would you like to go to a big money race with new stuff that you've never really tried? No. Did it? I mean, I didn't come home with a big check, but and you certainly came home with at least a good chunk of something on the Sunday, right? But, like, it's nice to see those results, right? Like, if you're not there, you can't even try it. Now, would I have gone to the $1 million race with a scenario like this? I'm gonna be honest with you, I probably would have found someone to buy a ticket off me had I had one, right? But you got to take those shots sometimes, right? And it's tough. It makes you work into a zone there. You can learn a little bit about yourself in the car, right? But it also doesn't hurt to have some really smart people around you willing to answer phones at 10:30 at night.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I just got a message to take a roll back into the Canadian countdown. Jason McNeil, obviously, Jason commented on here earlier, watching the show, gave me a quick look. I missed these results that had came up 2 weeks ago. This was not just yesterday, 2 days ago, but 2 weeks ago there was a race down east. So we started the show, right? Countdown. We'll finish it with a countdown too. So I apologize for our East Coast racers that I did. It's been a long couple of weeks, man. Like, we've been moving, we had training, we had this, we had that. I'm just making excuses now. That's all it is. But
we're just blaming it on the car.
Blaming it on the car. That's all we're doing right now. But we'll hit it, finish us off. as we talked about, right, we being plagued with rain, they were able for the second time this year get to the racetrack. Cape Breton Dragway, Sydney, Nova Scotia. New scoreboards were installed and increased pit parking. So big improvements for Cape Breton this year. Good for them. A few new cars on the track. Gavin Posibon, last year's junior champion, jumped in his dad's full-size dragster for licensing. So cool for him, right? Cool experience. I
Absolutely
remember when I got out of a junior, got into the dragster for the first time. It is a whirlwind experience, you know. So, but it's cool. So good for Gavin. We talked about him, you know, a boatload on here. So let's hope that we can talk to him again. So Saturday, two Saturdays ago, box class winner Jason McNeil over Mario Van Wicken. No box class, Jonathan Kallick over David Polson. Junior Connor Brown over Silas Bellows. Sunday, roll over there. Pro class, Rob Baxter over Noah Mugga. I think, yeah. Sportsman, Hank Neaston. Talked about Hank a bunch of times. Over Chris Christensen. There you go. Yeah,
that's a good name.
Chris.
I like that name.
Bike sled, Donnie Kosnick over Gordon Ferguson. Junior Kane Hogan over Bryson McNeil. Super Pro, Jason McNeil, and Andrew Pearson will complete the final round at the next Cape Breton Dragway event. It started raining as the drivers were in the burnout box. So potential there. Well, I guess Bryson was in the final. So in junior, his dad won Saturday. His dad could possibly win Sunday. So wicked weekend for Jason. Nice. Good for him. And thanks for sending the info over. Remind us that, you know, missed that one. I was set that it had rained again on it. I think it did rain this weekend. I must have, because I think I forget where they were supposed to go.
I don't think anywhere in North America didn't rain this weekend.
Yeah.
So it was like that everywhere, right? But yes, our apologies that one. Thank you.
Glad that we got to hit that. That's the good part about doing it live, right? If we were just recording this, we wouldn't have known. Wouldn't have thought about it.
No, it would have come up later, and it would have been another podcast episode of.
Wouldn't have been the same.
I got you.
Yeah, at least we got to highlight it.
So this is the thing. So where are you heading next? What's next on the calendar for you?
Currently nothing on the calendar for 3 weeks. Yes,
3 weeks.
It's crazy. That's what I said. We'll see what happens if it stays that empty. You know, there's only so many more weekends I get to roll for. You know, before we take a couple months off.
A little different than the rest of ours.
Yeah, exactly. When we do that, so Rachel is now, as of yesterday, 30 weeks pregnant. So that's, you know, when you say it on here, like, because like 40 is the time, right?
That number hits differently, doesn't it?
A little different. So for me, I've got 3 weeks currently kind of open, up in the air. Not a whole lot we're going to do. There's a million things we have to do here. Get ready, you know, life changes and things like that. But for myself, for sure, you know, the little bracket at Luskville and then the bracket Bonanza for that, you know, obviously, you know, what is it, 6 or 7, 10 granders in 9 days or 10 days.
I feel like every time I talk about it, there's another 10 grander. It's like the Oprah show, right? Here's a 10 grander.
Exactly.
You get 10 grander. There's a 10 grander. It's getting
so
pretty cool.
That's my plans as of right now. I know there's a few events in between. Naperville has the National Open coming up at some time. Shanaville has a race. I believe they're doing side note for anybody paying attention to the Shanaville stuff. I think there's a memorial situation going on for Steve Shields, and it is the High Roller weekend. That's a big one. So we had talked, like Steve, you know, somebody we spoke about on here, I believe, when he had passed away. So I think they're doing a little memorial deal for him as well, which would be great to remember Steve by. And then, High Roller event down there. That'll be good for everybody rolling in. But absolutely. And then I'm not sure what else is up. What about you, Andrew? Where are you going?
August seems way too far. Ace Race.
Yes, you are going there.
Yeah, Ace Race 42. Never been. So my first trip to Drag Race 42. That's in 2 weeks, I guess. So the next 2 weekends are off and back to maintenance. Like I got to get all the cars out of the trailer and go through stuff. There's generators that have a lot of hours on them for oil changes and et cetera and so forth. Go through, make sure that everything I just put together in the last 2 weeks
still
is still
together,
looking as good as it, right? Like looks as good. I mean, so we're going to do that. Then from there, heading to, going to the little bracket. So the Dave Rene weekend, I guess, right? The first 2 10Ks, do the Bonanza week. I haven't looked as far as August yet, to be honest with you. I've kind of broken it down that I'm doing like 4-week intervals is kind of where my head's at. Get through these 4 weeks, see what the next 4 weeks brings. But we got a few things to deal with on that end. Other than that, I think that's as far ahead as I can look. I know there's a few big races coming up in August, 660 races, but I'm looking forward to hitting up Dragway 42. Sound like there's a lot of Canadians heading there. I guess New Media's got an event coming up too, right?
I can't remember the name. I don't know if this is the Jim Harrington Memorial Weekend, I believe. I think it's 320s. Yeah. I know there's
it's another one of those tracks that has a lot of big money races,
cool
right?
stuff. So I think it's about 8 hours from here, for a lot of people, 8 to 10. I think a lot of super tour racers are lined up for that. So, that'll be cool.
Yeah, should be good. I think it's the same. It might even be the same.
I think it might be because then our Ottawa, Quebec kind of area racers will be Numidia, and then Southern Ontario racers go to 42, and that's closer for them. Right,
that's my
a lot of good racing. Let's I want to talk about some more winners, right? So somebody take it down.
I guess the next show will be. Well, this is a thing, right? So next 2 weeks, there's a few good races. Anyway, I guess the best plug would be to go to the Bracket Life website, right?
Check that out.
The Canadian
it's
schedule.
Right there, right? BracketLifeBrand.com, Canadian Drag Racing Master Schedule, right? Check it out if you're bored after the show, right? So that's about that for tonight. Thanks, everybody, for checking it out. Thanks, everybody, for staying on. Like I said earlier, like the videos, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps out with everything. Make sure you are liking and sharing everything on Facebook that you see, or sharing this. Check it out. Keep us updated. Keep us honest, right? Just like how Jason did midway through the show. We're missing something. Let us know. Keep us on it. Yep. So that's all good. Thank you guys very much for paying attention. We love doing this. Love talking about everybody, right? We enjoy it.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun.
I'm glad we get to do this, every other week. Thanks, Pro1Safety.ca. Check that all out. All your racing safety gear, safety equipment, things like that. Go from there, and
shout out to Jay for the new hat.
The new hat. Yeah, exactly. That's right. If you missed in the comments,
will be Jerome, a new hat. This is not the
Jerome
new hat,
threw it out that Andrew's hat's too dirty. He will get a new one.
Yeah. Well, when it's going to winner circles and final rounds, right? It happens.
So, that's how it goes. But all right, guys, we will talk to you guys again in 2 weeks. Thanks again. Thanks again, Andrew, everybody else. We'll see you all soon.
Have a good one.
Canadian racers, make sure your next set of seatbelts and racing suit are from Pro1Safety.ca. Pro1 Racing and Safety products offer high-quality products made in the USA and now distributed in Canada. Pro1 Canada offers seatbelts, racing suits, helmets, and all sorts of safety accessories for drag racers. See for yourself why NHRA sportsmen world champions such as Bo Butner, Jeff Strickland, the Emmons brothers, Austin Williams, and many more rely on Pro1 Racing and Safety products. Join the winners. Choose Pro1. Buy high-quality American-made products from your Canadian wholesale distributor at Pro1Safety.ca.